y'all. Come on in. Come on in here. Come on in. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Listen, let me share this real quick. I'm gonna give y'all a couple more seconds to get on in here. Let me share this out and let the people know we here. I know we missed last week. We had we welcomed a new baby into the community last week and the week before, taking care of some very important emergent things that came up, how life does. So I'm gonna give y'all a second to get on in here. I'm gonna go ahead and share it out. And those of you that are tuning in with us, I need you to share it as well. I want you to like and love and share and follow and do all the things. Okay. And I guess we can take a quick little break and y'all can say hi to Bun B. This our bunny, y'all. This is Bun B and my son. So say hi. So as you can see, the other half of the Two Live crew will be on her way shortly.
Hi, my name's Bun B.
Okay, he already said hi, son.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you. And watch, don't kick my lamp. That's my lighting. That's my lighting. Watch the lamp. Y'all know. So welcome, welcome back, guys, to what we like to call Hope in Homeschooling. This was created for our families who are considering homeschool, are currently doing homeschool, been doing homeschool for a whole year now or longer, because the other options just weren't enough. So right now you have me. I'm Deanna, also known as Nabaya. I'm a homeschooling mom of two. I have a seventh grader and a third grader. We're wrapping up and kind of transitioning into the summer phase of our homeschooling. I'm doing a year-round thing with them. So we're going into the summer phase where we kind of switch up our routine a bit and get into a little bit more free flowing. But okay, son, I'm on the live. Thank you. That's fine. But just wanting to introduce today's topic. We are once again looking at Kwanzaa 365. Like, how do we live out the essence of the principles of Kwanzaa all year round and not just during the 7 days of Kwanzaa that take place starting December 26th on through January 1st every year? How do we incorporate this as a part of our everyday lives, who we are, how we treat each other, how we, allow our communities to thrive, and, how we are raising our children? So, we're starting with the first principle, which is Umoja, which means unity. And, we have been, talking about a few different things leading up to this. If you guys have been following us on our journey, back in January, we talked about communication. February, we talked about mindfulness. And so, now we're on Umoja, unity. How does this integrate? So today we're actually focusing on how to leverage our strengths and avoid isolation. And what kind of really got us to this point with this particular topic is, realizing that we don't just want to focus on academics with homeschooling. We want to raise happy, healthy, whole, sane individuals. Hold on, who like to talk to their bunnies really loud when their mom is on the live. Son, will you take Bun B to your room?
I told him that he learned his lesson.
Amaru, but I'm on the live. I need you to take him to, we do this. We've been doing this almost a year now. On Wednesdays, Hope and Homeschooling is happening, and the background needs to be as quiet as possible in your room, in your bedroom, not in there, in your bedroom. I'm a real mom, y'all. I don't do this Hope and Homeschooling just for kicks, just for likes. Like, this is something really happening every day. So excuse me. But yeah, so leveraging our strengths and avoiding isolation. We want to make sure we have a strong village, a strong network established. And that exists. But if you're anything like me, sometimes I can, I'm outgoing, like I'm social, but I'm not necessarily what I would consider an extrovert. So, sometimes I struggle with, maintaining consistent communication and connection with other homeschooling families. And, for my children, what that means is maybe sometimes we miss opportunities or what that means for myself is maybe sometimes I miss, extending my network and my support system because I just haven't reached out and communicated the need. So why do we do this? Why do we, get in spaces and places where we feel like we are alone, or we have to do this alone, or we have to prove, that we got this, maybe there's others around us who didn't think that homeschooling was going to work. So we're like, kind of burning ourselves on both ends, trying to prove like, yo, I got this, I can do this. We are going to be successful at this, but then simultaneously, excluding yourself from the wider, village and network. So, so how do we approach this? How do we get to a point where we are leveraging each other's strengths? For me, I know that, math is not a strong suit of mine, right? So, there's people in the community, in our homeschooling community even, who, may be better at teaching math, may have a better understanding, a better way to explain it. They may actually like math, which is really important when you're teaching a subject that you at least like it a little bit, because if not, the children are going to pick that up, right? So, that part of, reaching out and saying, hey, I have a seventh grader who, needs some more help with math, who can help me with this. Where for me, my strengths are more so in the arts. So, that would be, that would be your creative writing. That would be, in painting. That would be in, collage art, photography, even some acting, and, just other ways of being and being creative, free movement, as far as like dance, things like that, that I would be able to, spark some joy and creativity around. And, some parents, that's not their thing. So, I would be the go-to for that. Or, I'm a licensed cosmetologist. So maybe, you may have, one of your children who are interested in like fashion or cosmetology or makeup artistry, something like that, myself, or I may know someone else in the community that is able to assist with that. So, just kind of like figuring out and making sense of how do we build that network of what we need so that we're not feeling isolated, so that our children are getting the fullest and most enriching experience possible. Um, so I'm gonna pause again. I'm gonna share this out some more, and I would like for you guys to share as well. Anybody else who is who's watching, please, share this, with your friends and family. I want you guys to come in, chime in the comments. How can we better support each other? How can we be there more for each other as a homeschooling community? And just as a community, period. What ways can we, be the village that we need to see? Because it can be isolating at times, and and also kind of maybe even having a worry in your mind, like, oh, well, I'm not going to reach out to such and such because I know they're busy doing their own thing with their own family. So, I don't want to be a bother. For me as a single mom, I can kind of feel that way a lot sometimes. Like, well, they kind of got their own thing going on with their family. They don't have time, or I don't want to be an extra, weight or a burden or another thing that they have to consider, trying to work things in. But it really makes it so much better because then your children get to see like, oh, okay, it's really not just us doing this. And this is not something that we're being made to do on our own. Like there's other families that we can connect with and do this as well. And so, we want to make sure that we have that for them and that we're able to be that for them. Okay. So yeah, so anybody that's on here, I want you guys to get in the comments. Let's figure this out. I'm posing this question. I would like your insight, your input. And if you have any skills that you bring to the table, I know a couple sisters who sew. My daughter is into fashion design. I know the basics of sewing, like I can hem a pair of pants at the bottom, I can sew on a button, I can, mend a tear, and some other basic things. But as far as like the principles of actually constructing a garment, who can, be that hands-on person, with her. And that's for me to, intentionally seek that community out and say, hey, who out there knows how to sew? Do you have some time you can spend with my daughter? Can she come over? Would you like to come over? Can we do it virtually? Whatever we need to do. There's a couple of young ladies who, I've been blessed to be asked to mentor, who are interested in being a doula. Those of you who know that I am a birth worker, and I have been since 2007. And so, young ladies who are interested in becoming a doula, like what can I offer them? What do I have to offer them? Why would I leave for their parents to have to try to figure that out when that's not their domain? That is a strength of mine. That's a strong suit of mine. So, I have that. So what kind of things am I putting together to be able to offer that and put it out there and say, hey, I could talk to, your youth about this. Anybody that's interested in this particular field or way of doing things. So I think that, that's super important. And then also, that models for the children how to utilize their own network and be resourceful. Because if they see us as parents doing that, kind of creating what it is that we need to see, right? And they see us, reaching out and making those connections and not being afraid to say, hey, I need help with this, and not being afraid to say, hey, do you need help from me? And offering those things, then that can model for them how it can look amongst their peers, not just those peers who are homeschooling, but those who are in traditional and other school settings as well. Like, hey, are you guys doing this in your classes at school? Because, that's something I'm interested in, or hey, this is something I'm struggling with. What have you guys been learning? And vice versa. So I think just, modeling for our children that that's a way that we can do things. That's definitely a way to instill some unity. Okay. Give me just a second, guys. Pulling up something here. But give me just a minute. So when we think about isolation, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the social, emotional, mental health impact of feeling isolated. Yes. Okay. Hey, Marcia. Okay. Marcia says she's a new homeschooling parent that desperately needs help with everything. Marcia, so lovely to meet you. Let me tell you right now, you are not alone. Like, that's how Destiny and I felt when we were first getting started with this. The whole purpose of us even starting the Hope and Homeschooling conversation. I'm sorry, hold on. So my daughter is cooking. And y'all know how it is when the water hit the grease and it just like sizzles really loud. I don't know how loud that is for y'all, but it was very loud for me. You got the fan on? Is the window open?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be done in a bit.
Okay, get the lid and put the lid over the top so it doesn't splatter on you.
I don't know where the lid is.
Okay, we have real life things happening over here. But Marcia, I wanted to, just speak to you for a minute. Like, please reach out. Like, if I could figure out how to do this from here, I would inbox you my number. But if you can find me, like, inbox me your number. Let's circle back around and talk. Between myself and Destiny, we can help you with what it is that you need to get started. We started this conversation series last year. So we also have like some older videos that kind of really literally go through the basics and walk you through from scratch. Like, I mean, selecting a curriculum, how to set up your homeschooling environment, deciding what model of homeschooling that you want to use, things like that. And so, what this very show right now is about, leveraging our strengths and avoiding isolation. So I love, that were brave enough to hop in the comments and say, hey, I need help. Like, thank you for reaching out, because we don't do that enough. We sometimes tend to lean more towards suffering in silence, right? Or struggling in silence. And there's no need to. There's no need. And like, that's the very purpose of this show, is to let other parents like us know, like, you're not alone and you don't have to do this by yourself. Hey, girl. The other half of the Two Live crew has arrived,
Hey,
ladies and
y'all.
gentlemen. So sis, lovely to have you with us. Look at you, looking all springy and colorful. Got your little pineapple with the locks and your red lipstick popping. I see you, boo. I see you. But so we have Marcia, that was just mentioning that she's new to homeschooling and desperately needs help with everything. So like, we gonna get you straight, girl. Don't even worry.
Yes.
We gonna get you together.
Yes. And you know what? Welcome. I'm sure sis has been telling you, like, at one point, all of us were new. And the beautiful thing about homeschool is new really isn't new, right? Like the fear that we as parents have to get over is just that. And I apologize about the recorder sounds in the background. My daughter has decided to be a recorder virtuoso in this moment. Hold on 1 second. Jern. I had to switch her musical endeavors to the next room so that I can continue. But no, seriously, Marcia, welcome. Welcome to homeschooling. What I was saying was the hardest part about homeschooling is us, as parents. It's us getting over our minds that, can I really do this? Am I doing enough? Am I doing what's right? Is the schedule right? Are my children getting enough? And the answer to all your questions is yes, you're doing enough. Yes, you're doing it right. You can never mess up your kids. Sis says best, like, you cannot, their default is automatically you. So you cannot mess up. Come here. I know you're upset. Come on. Come on, girl. Come on.
Oh, she upset about having to stop
Yes,
her recorder time.
she stopped her
She
musical.
said she was getting to the good part of the song. You done messed up her flow, mama. Oh, Johnny John.
Say hey,
Hi, sweet
y'all.
girl.
Say hi. Say hi.
Hi, hey, honey bun.
But it is, you are the default. As a parent, you are their first teacher, right? And so thank you so much for tuning in. Um, we are obviously happy to help you. And if you have any questions, please just drop them in the chat. Like, drop them in the chat. Say hi, Jern. People are saying hi to you. Say hello with your words. Hi. There we go. So, but yes, please drop them in the chat. We'll be more than happy to help. If I have to put this on pause and show you some of our books, because we got books. So if you need to see some homeschool books, like, hey, I need some help, let me know. I usually have them around me somewhere. I'll try to find them while we continue the conversation, and I'll make sure to drop them in the chat and show you what they look like. There are so many people on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, us. Please, 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 if you have questions, drop them in the chat. We are definitely interactive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But chances, so we started out kind of talking more so, about, I'm not sure how much of it you were able to hear, but just leveraging our strengths and avoiding isolation, and how important that is to reach out. Something that I know I don't do enough of. I think you are very good at it. So, I definitely, would love for you to jump in and kind of, just kind of talk us through how you intentionally are cultivating this community around you that you need. I mean, me, I kind of get kind of stuck in my own head a little bit. And, time just goes by and it'll be like, I mean to reach out and then I don't. Then it's like, oh, I wish we had this. Oh, I wish I knew somebody to do this. But guess who's not in the groups, being active in the groups? Guess who's not doing that? but study, like, oh, wishing I had, and oh, how come I, ooh, and then the kids are wanting certain things, and it's like, man, that's on me. I'm not utilizing what's available. But you are super good at that when it comes to homeschooling, because I tend to lean a little bit more toward the introverted side, and so boom, that's why we have a two live
That's
crew.
what,
You know what I'm saying? So this your part.
that's right.
This is your part. I'm gonna let you tell the
Would
people
you
how to
say
do it.
tag? Would you tag me in? Tag.
Tag.
Well, the beautiful thing. So, when we decided to really do hope and homeschooling, one of the reasons we really decided to do it, sis, if you remember, is because we were like, man, we can do this together. And what's crazy, y'all, just to give context, we had really been talking about homeschooling for a while. Like pre-COVID, like I was pulling her to the side, like, okay, we can homeschool, right? Like we can do this. And we were like talking about it like actively. And you was like, yeah, I've really been thinking about getting back into it. And so when COVID happened, it was kind of like, okay, we gonna do this. Like we've been talking about it. We literally y'all set the universe like low key, we were putting it in the universe and it just manifested through COVID, which sounds
Yep.
really weird. But we have really been talking about this for some months before we even could conceptualize COVID, shelter in place, um, virtual school, because we were already talking about what the system wasn't giving our children. And so that is kind of one of the beautiful things about homeschool for me. So as I started to research, put her down, I'm realizing that the village was so big, we just needed to tap in. And so that's what I really started to do. And on top of that, in my everyday life, I do communications work. I'm in community. I do community engagement. I'm already connecting places to people and people to places and organizations and things. So for me, homeschool was just an extension of that. Like if I can do that same thing for organizations that at the end of the day may or may not really care about me, I can definitely do it for our babies. I can definitely do it for our legacy. I can definitely do it for our future. So like, and COVID, like this was like we was on like kind of autopilot, right? Because we couldn't really do nothing. So now that the world is opening back up, like oh, it's about to be on and popping. Like sis got a whole double dutch team. Like we got a whole double dutch situation over here that we haven't even really started. And so it's like there's so much stuff that we can do for our babies, so
Right.
many opportunities. So again, sis, you are not alone. And I see what you said. I tend to take on so much that I don't complete anything. Like,
Mhm.
don't get into, how do I put this? Like somebody told me like this. They were like, they called it FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, right? And I thought that was so cool. FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Mm.
Just remember that what you are doing is what you're doing. Sometimes we complicate things because, again, when we're doing homeschool, we are so quick to like, oh, okay, let me put it like this. Our base is public school, right? That's our base. Our base is public school. So all we know, think about public school. I'm gonna show you and walk you through sometimes how overwhelming it can be, especially for kids. You walk in the door. So your parents drop you off. You walk in the door. You go to your first class. You immediately start your morning work. From your work, you go from one cycle to the other cycle. You may do small group work, and then you do something else, and then you do something else. And think about it. Teachers are overwhelmed. I have teacher friends who are like, we have 30 kids in the class. I don't know how we even get to half of these kids. We don't even get to half of the lesson. We don't like, they will tell you so much. And seasoned teachers have learned, like, girl, we ain't doing half of that stuff. Like, we're picking out the good stuff. So, what I would suggest is take it back to the basics, keep it very simple. When I had to like when I came out, I had a whole list. Like my kids was in college. Like we was like on a whole honors track, and I got toddlers, right? Like we was doing stuff. And then my husband was like, this is a lot. Like, why are you doing this much? And so then we backed it up. And I went to reading, writing, and arithmetic sometimes. I focus on life skills a lot because our children don't get that. And
That's right. They need it. They
they
need it.
need we do handwriting every day, penmanship every day. We make sure that we do prayer and meditation every day. And then if I get to reading, we do reading every day. Everything else is here or there. But my daughters know how to pump gas. My children know how to go to the grocery store and shop for themselves. They're washing. They know how to wash clothes. So there are so many things. We make it sometimes so much more because of our experience. That's why I said we have to continue to renew our minds. So don't worry about it, because guess what? We all took on so much that we didn't think we was completing anything. So it's okay. You are in a perfect place to be. And that is why we're here. That is why Hope and Homeschooling is here. That's why the network is here. Reaching out, right? You saying like, I don't know what to do. Like, I need help with everything. Like, that is literally the first step. And there's so many. So I don't know. Are you in Nashville? Can you drop in the chat if you're in Nashville or where you're at? Because so many cities are becoming more and more homeschool friendly. If you're in Nashville, there's so many things to do. And this actually ties into kind of, what we're talking about today. Like, we can sometimes silo ourselves, right? Like, we can separate ourselves unintentionally, not realizing that there really is a community out there that wants to connect virtually, that wants to connect. And it's just a matter of, oh, so you're in Philly. Oh my gosh. So you're on East Coast. You got some dope Black homeschoolers in Philly. Like, you have some dope. Nabaya, wasn't our sister who got on talking about Montessori? Isn't she up? She's East Coast, right?
Oh, no, that was DC.
DC. Okay. So
Yeah,
Philly to
right
DC,
now.
not too far, right? It's like a train ride, right? But DC has, like, y'all are a few hours, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Philly's like a few hours away from DC. New York has a strong Black homeschool network. DC has a really strong Black homeschool network. The Sisters in the Nation. Like, if you have a close mosque to you, like the Nation of Islam, most of those sisters, at least East Coast wise, homeschool. Yeah, okay. So you're like about 3 hours away. So listen, take advantage of what I would do is I would do a quick homeschool search, like stuff to do for homeschoolers in Philly. What I do know about Philly is Philly they had, and I don't know if COVID changed that, but y'all had a lot of free museums. All of those free
Mhm.
museums, sis, homeschool. Okay.
Right.
Take them to the Federal Reserve, because I know y'all have one. That's a homeschool lesson. And how you do that is you say, you can go online, you can teach them about, I think it was the money. I think they were making the pennies or something in Philly, if I'm not mistaken. So you can take them online, teach them about the history of money, teach them about the history of the Federal Reserve, take them to that free museum. There's so much. Y'all have history by itself in Philly. That's a whole year unit study just about Philadelphia itself. And then you guys are so close to New York. You're so close to the Jersey Shore. You're so close to the Poconos. Like, you guys could literally, like, most of your homeschool could be outside. So I'll definitely try to find some links to get you connected to some people up there or some things. But don't feel like you have to keep your children inside. You know what I'm saying? Take them babies out. Take them out. For real. For real.
Absolutely. Yep, and build your lessons around that. And we have, one of our earlier shows where we talked about that, like how can like build what a unit theme is, where you like pick a topic that's of interest to your child and build your lesson around that. Um,
My bad, y'all. Hold
you're
on.
welcome, sis. You're welcome. Um, you know, so yeah, definitely like I mean, clearly, this is why, this show exists. So, um, we got to leverage our strengths, leverage what, each other bring to the table. Like, I would love, Marcia, to know a little bit more about you. I would love to get to know you. I hope that you connect with us. I'm going to put our email address in the chat. And email us your info. Like, I would love for us to like hop on a three-way call or a Zoom or something, just so that we can connect. And I mean, nothing else, you got some Nashville fam. Schooling@gmail.com. You got some Nashville fam. So if you're ever passing this way, and we have plans to, kind of branch out and do more things with ours, as well. So we know we got some Philly fam, but definitely to know more about you. There may be some things that you offer or that you're able to do, or things that you are gifted and would consider to have strengths in, that could benefit our children and vice versa. So definitely, more of a co-op, a co-oping space where we are like, bringing our gifts together to enrich our children. So yeah, definitely. Okay. M Logan Educator. Okay, at Gmail. Okay, perfect. Yep. So let's talk about this Umoja, sis. Let's talk about this Umoja, this unity. Um, you know, I mean, it sounds like it's very, very simple, very commonplace to say, oh, it takes a village to raise a child. We have to have unity. We got to be unified. Those are buzzwords in buzz phrases in the conscious Black community. But somehow, some way, that's not necessarily always how it plays out. And even within what would or could be a strong village, there still ends up kind of being that splintering off of, different religious beliefs, or different opinions about certain practices. There's some that don't believe in practicing Kwanzaa. So the fact that we even having this conversation about Umoja, and having Kwanzaa 365, some folks would just like not even tune in because, oh, there they go talking that Kwanzaa stuff, and we don't do that. And so, let's have that Umoja conversation. What does that really look like? All hats, all labels, all of that other stuff aside, what is it that we really need to do to cultivate a true sense of community? Because the way that we've been doing it must not be working as well as it could. Otherwise, we'd have a stronger, united front. Especially in the homeschooling community, there wouldn't be, folks, in the comments like they lost. They would already know where their village is and how to find it. So apparently, we are still so splintered that even we, Destiny and I, felt the need to form, this virtual conversation series called Hope and Homeschooling, because, we didn't see a consistent, accessible, presence of, here is where you go to really get started from the ground up, walking you through step by step, being a constant source of encouragement and support, and consistency. So we're here because it didn't already exist.
That's right. That's right.
Otherwise we'd just be doing that with the folks that were doing it. We wouldn't have started Hope and Homeschooling if it already existed. So there was a need for what we're doing, and not to take away from what already exists, but hoping that this be a vehicle to help us navigate our way to where those other things are, and help bring some awareness to what's available, so that we can strengthen ourselves and not be so isolated and separated, as a homeschooling community. So sis, like,
That's right.
chime in here.
Yeah, I mean, like, Umoja in and of itself, you know what I'm saying? Thinking about unity. And you're right. Like, sis, first of all, you hit the nail on the head. The reason we started this was because when we started it, we knew how to start because, between me working fine for the school district, you had, homeschooled before, we knew how to do it. But what we also knew was that in COVID, there were going to be so many parents who were going to need help, like step by step by step, that we wanted to provide that safety net for them, right? And to me, that's what that unity piece is all about. Unity for us in this position, in this situation, is us coming together to educate our children, period. We know that education is the root of everything, right? When you look at us historically, we had so much, we were highly educated. And I think that over time, just systems and processes no longer serve us as a people. And so when we look at unifying, or rather, I'm going to take it from a different way. Isolation hasn't worked. Desegregation hasn't worked. And so, as an option, not of last resort, but as a viable option to homeschool, we cannot do this alone. So, when people say it takes a village to raise a child, we have to start breaking down really what that means to us, right? Because it's a beautiful way to say it when you're talking about it's this nice colloquialism where we're saying, oh yeah, because it takes a village. But we also live in a society where you can no longer chastise people's children in public or you will get cussed out, right? So we don't really, as a community, necessarily believe in that village mentality. Not anymore. It used to be when we were growing up that if you weren't home by when the street lights were on, that you was gonna get in trouble because so and so's big mama was gonna tell on you, right? Like even if your big mama or your grandma or your mama or your auntie worked third shift, somebody was gonna tell that you wasn't at home when the street light, when the street lights came on. That's community, right? And I think our brother Nino, he said it best in our last conversation. He said something to the extent of, we have neighborhoods, not communities. And so that was profound to me because I'm like, man, like what is a community, right? So first we have to define what community is so that we can understand what we're saying when we're talking about unity. We have to understand what isolation is because people are okay with being by themselves. They're okay with being solo dolo. But in the homeschooling environment, we cannot be solo, y'all. Homeschooling was not created for us to be alone. Really, us as melanated, indigenous, brown, black, people of color, whatever you consider yourself or classify yourself, we were not created to be alone. We are a tribal people. In a tribe, what does that look like? That means that we all eat. That
Right.
means that if I have food, you have food. That means that if I need some protection, you need some protection, we're going to protect each other. Like that is unity. Unity is not, I see a sister getting beat up by her boyfriend in the Walmart parking lot and I don't try to stop or honk the horn or do something. I pull out my phone and I record it, right? That's not unity. And so we as a people have to define again why us unifying is important. Us coming together is important. Why? Because we're stronger together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If none of our ancient kingdoms or nothing like that was built in a day, right? And so we must really work as a community to build that back.
Woo. Yeah, we're gonna yeah, let's share that comment. Sis says we must redefine Umoja. It doesn't mean constant agreement. Our need to accomplish our educational goals must supersede our need to be the expert or be right.
That's right.
You
That's
better
right.
speak that. We must lead by example to show that our strength is in our connectivity. I am because you are. Yep. And we are because I am. I am because we are. That's right. So, I love that. It doesn't mean constant agreement. I always say, like, there's been times even where like, you're faced with, okay, I don't fully agree with what you said.
That's right.
Okay, I see what you're trying to do.
That's right.
And what I'm not gonna do is be out here in front of the world disagreeing with my brother or my sister.
That
We
that
gonna handle this behind closed doors later.
yes,
But for
yes,
now, I'm gonna stand here
yes.
with you and I'm gonna let you finish because I see what you're trying to do. And
That's
it's
right.
not me being right is not so important to me that I'm gonna go out my way to tear you down or
That's
block what you're
right.
trying to do just because that's a different way than what I would do it.
That's
It don't
right.
mean that much to me to be right. My ego ain't that big that I
That's
gotta
right.
sit here and intentionally be a blockage for you just because I would have approached it a different way.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, and so
That's
it's like, no, we don't have to be in constant agreement, but we're going to stand as a united front. And if there is any sort of disagreement, won't nobody ever know it but us. Why? Because we are one.
That's right. And you saying that I am because you are, right? I totally agree. I think that is where we miss the mark too. Well, we got to be unified and we got to do so and so. And you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of Malcolm and Martin. So when I think about Malcolm and Martin, a lot of people think that they were so polar opposites, and that one time that they met, that like it could have been the start of something good. And I believe it could, right? But the reality is, them brothers had the same goal. That goal was freedom. If you pump gas in your car and I pump gas in my car, we may not pump gas the same way, but we still need gas because we still got to go somewhere. And that is what we have to do. So when you say we must redefine Umoja, I think that that is so powerful because, like, we and even in our title, leveraging our strengths and avoiding isolation, there are some things that I can do, and I've said this in many of one of our shows. There are some things that I can do well that Nabaya may not be able to do, and there are some things that Sis can do well that I can't. Right? If we stayed isolated, we would both be missing an opportunity to be stronger because I'm bringing my pieces to the puzzle here. She's bringing her pieces. We have to learn how to stay in our lane, right? But I still have to learn how to respect her in her lane. Today is Malcolm's birthday. That's right. It is Brother Malcolm's birthday. That is absolutely right. And because our children don't celebrate it in schools, it is our job and responsibility to make sure that everybody understands that it is his day of birth. So paying respect and homage to Brother Malcolm and appreciating all that he brought, and all that he showed us, because he did wake a lot of us up. And I'll say a lot of us. I remember even watching the autobiography of Malcolm X when I was young. I was real young, and I didn't understand it fully at the time. But now I understand how important he was to the movement, and how much, you have the Black Power movement, you have the Civil Rights movement, you have Malcolm X, by any means necessary. Like, we gonna get this done. And I think there are so many remnants of what it is that Brother Malcolm was trying to do, today, in the young people, and even in the generation that saw him but didn't fully appreciate what it was he was trying to do at the time. I do believe that that is very, very important, to pay homage. So thank you, sister, for dropping that and reminding everybody that today is, Brother Malcolm's birthday. So
Mhm,
yes,
mhm.
yes. But I will say that, when I think about leveraging our strengths to avoid isolation, one of the things that we need to be comfortable with is knowing where we're strong and then knowing where we're not strong.
Mhm.
There are plenty of times when I know that I've had to say, like, that's not my lane. That's not something I can do. Right.
That's right.
And we have to lay our pride down. Right. There are things that we know that we need, but I can't do everything. I'm not Superwoman, and I don't want to be, frankly. I'm definitely the goddess that I am, but I don't want to be something that is just, that's tiring, right? Like, I need help, okay? And all
That's
these
right.
superheroes have given us this complex that I can save the world, and I can no. It was never
Mhm.
meant for us to do it by ourselves. They didn't build pyramids by themselves. Well, first of
That's
all,
right.
they were master mathematicians. Okay, so let me let me go there. They Our ancestors were very powerful, so they could have built the pyramids by themselves. I don't think they did. I think they realized, like, hey, we can do this together. I need your theory over here, and I need this over here. And I think together they came together to build those civilizations, and to build all those beautiful structures that we still have to honor them by. But when we think about our leverage or leveraging our strengths, and avoiding isolation, that for the Black community is very important.
Super.
We
And since you
Go
said
ahead.
something a minute ago, and I'm a chime in real quick because I actually was asked to sit in on a discussion, and there were a series of questions that some of us who were panelists, were asked, and the question that they saved for me was, what did I think of the Black woman superhero complex? Okay, and I'll give you a little bit of context. I'm a birth worker, currently functioning in the capacity as a full spectrum doula, and commonly, when you're dealing with moms who have just had a baby, who are newly postpartum, a lot of times they end up with additional health issues, and postpartum depression setting in at high rates, and just examining where all of that comes from. And a lot of it is because they are trying to do too many things other than just focus on nurturing their bond with their new baby. They are up cleaning and cooking and still trying to do laundry and be everybody else's ear and emotional and mental support, and still trying to rush back into working a job. And in some instances, when the support system isn't there, maybe some moms don't have the choices surrounding that they would like, but a lot of us do in some way, but we don't access it because we feel, oh, well, I can handle this. I don't want anybody to think I'm weak. I don't want to be too needy. I don't want to ask no whole bunch of people to do
Yes.
nothing for me because da 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 da. I can do it. I'll be all right. I just have to move a little slower, but I can still do it.
That's
And
right.
we're not taking the time to listen to ourselves and check in with ourselves until our bodies force us to, and then it's
That's
too
right.
late. And
Yes.
then now we have some bigger health issue that we have to tackle because all of the warning signs we miss. There's something called hunger cues, even with little babies. When there's things that they do before they start crying, most people say, "Oh, the baby crying, the baby ready to eat." Well, no, if the baby crying, the baby is now in distress. That is a
Right.
sign of distress when the baby is
Yeah, that's right.
crying
That's
and
right.
hollering for their food. The baby has been hungry, been trying to tell you that they was ready to eat.
That's
But
right.
when we don't recognize the rooting signs and those cues, then now it's escalated to the point of a full blown distressed cry.
That's
And
right.
then now it's like, oh, I can't get the baby to latch on, or I can't get the baby to eat. The baby won't stop crying. Well, that's because the baby has gotten so escalated. Okay, so even from infancy, there's little cues that are given to let us know that there's something that needs our attention. Okay, so by the time it gets to the point where there's a cry, or like for us as adults, by the time it gets to the point where something is now hurting, or we feeling lightheaded, or the blood pressure is up, or this or that, then like those, it's too late. We've missed the other signs. So now we have a bigger issue we got to deal with. And so what we want to do is deconstruct that thinking that we cannot stop until it gets so big to, I guess, what, make it count, to make it worth the trouble of being acknowledged. Like, oh, well, oh, it's just a little, I'm just having a little problem with this. I'm just having a little problem with that. Or, with our children with homeschooling, it'll be or, before we get to the point,
That's right.
just in any school setting, when our children are starting to show little signs that maybe they're not quite connecting, maybe they're not quite getting it, like, okay, are they getting, they getting distracted at school, they not staying focused, they having a hard time finishing homework without you standing right over them fussing,
Their attitudes
things
change.
like that, their attitude changes, things like that. There's little cues that our children give us that they need something else. So by the time it escalates, we've already missed so many things. So it's so important that we learn to leverage our strengths early and know that's not a sign of weakness. No, you're not being needy. Okay, we have to, that was something that was put in us, that those ancestors of ours who were enslaved. Okay, let's take it all the way back there, y'all, because y'all know we like to go there. We try not to tarry too long, but we gonna
All
go.
the time.
We gonna
We gonna
go.
we gonna remind you today.
We gonna go today. Okay. And it's those who were considered to be the best, of the best of the slaves, were the ones who worked the hardest, worked the longest, could endure the most physical discomfort and pain. Which mamas could give birth, and then the next day they right back out there picking them same 2 tons of cotton without even breaking a sweat,
That's
without
right.
even stopping,
That's
and
right.
it's just like having to, but that was a way of us avoiding punishment, because if
Mhm.
you showed a sign of weakness,
That's right.
then you face punishment, you
That's
face
right. Mhm.
severe backlash and
Mhm.
consequences behind showing weakness,
That's
because then you were not producing what was perceived as your value.
That's
you
right.
know. And so we were always having to prove that we were the strongest, we were the fastest, we were the most long suffering, we were the most enduring of great difficulty, you know. And so it's like, y'all, we don't have to suffer through this. We can
And
choose right here today.
that's right.
We
That's
do
right.
not let this right
Yeah,
here be the thing. If you've never done it before, start with this. Let this be the thing that you say, I will not suffer through this. I will not struggle through this. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to prove to anybody,
that's
but
right.
only the greatness of my children bearing fruit, that homeschooling works. You know,
That's
and
right.
that fruit is what it needs to be for your family. You define,
That's
you know,
right.
what that
That's
is,
right.
you know, and not comparing yourself to any other standard that was created by entities outside of you and yours, you know, enforcing and saying what it needs to look like, because then you're not feeling like you got to fake the funk and struggle through some stuff that you really, you know, you really need help with. It's okay to say, I need some help, you know. We don't have to fear backlash or consequence, or harsh criticisms that we're a failing parent. You cannot, will not fail what you have created and brought on this planet. You were chosen to be
Yes,
your child's parent. You have everything they need, the good and the not so good. All of the aspects, the light and the dark, all work together. So you may say, "Oh, I don't want my children to know that I." Listen, I'm telling you right now, my babies know. Look, it's certain stuff with man. Don't come over here. Don't come over here. Let's find out. Let's find out who can help you. Don't come over. That's not my strength, and I don't feel weak. I don't feel weak about that. You know, I don't let myself feel bad about that, because it's important that they know, you know, that they know how to reach out to other resources, and that alleviates me from feeling like I have to be their all in all. Like, no,
right.
I am this.
That's right.
I am who I am, and who I am is everything that they need, including that part of me that is resourceful and knows how to connect them to the rest.
That's
You know,
right.
I'm the plug.
That's right. That's right.
I'm the
That's
plug.
right.
I'm the plug onto this physical plane.
That's
I'm their
right.
plug into everything that they need. You know, so it's like, if they don't get it directly from me, I'm plugging them in. And
That's
that's
right.
my job as their parent.
That
Not
is
to
right.
be all the things, but at least to be, you know, able and willing to connect them to what they need.
That's
As
right.
long as I make sure they get it.
And I think what is so profound, to think about that superwoman complex, like that was me, right? Like I had five children, my fourth son, and let me say this, and I used to say it with pride, and now as I hindsight's 2020, because when I look back, I'm like, man, why didn't anybody stop me? I literally worked up until I could not work anymore. I worked until I went into labor. Okay. And I used to say, like, oh, yeah, I work up until the day. If I had a chance to do it all over again, sis would probably take off in about 6 months. I'd be like, look,
Mhm.
y'all just gonna have to deal because I'm at home. Because you're bringing a god or goddess into this world. Do you really think that you need to be pregnant? Like my feet would be huge, my back would be hurt, and I'm at work. Now, granted, I will say that I've always been thankful that I haven't necessarily had like super hard jobs, but still energy, right? You're still around people who may or may not be good energy wise for you or what you're carrying.
Mhm.
And so when I had my baby, I was like, yep, I can still get up. Like you said, I was that one. And guess what happened to me? I got a hernia. And my hernia was so bad that when I did sit ups, it protruded. It was huge. I had to get it removed. Now, it wasn't life threatening, but it was an eyesore to me. And I knew that it came from me not sitting down. Like the old folks say, sat down. You need to sat down. No one around me was saying sat down. There was one person, and that was my husband. But in my mind, I have this obligation. I'm a mom. I have other children. I have to go to work. I have to do this. I can't let people, they're already saying, why do you have so many babies? And da, 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 da. So I had to show them, like, no, I can do this. I got this. That was wrong. Now, in the real village, what should have happened was I should have had elder women around me. I should have had those birth workers around me to say, hey, sis, I got the baby. Go take a shower. Have a seat. I'll fix you some food. I'm going to send so and so over to help you wash those clothes. I'm going to do something. That is unity, right? That is saying, I'm going to be here for sis. Now, can we all be collective, dope Amazonian sisters together? Yes. But even superheroes have to sit down, right? And so I think that it's super important, especially as Black women, especially as women of color. We take on the world, y'all. We were so strong that they used our milk to feed other people. We were wet nurses. We were so dope. But that's because we ain't had no choice. We have a choice now. We can choose to band together, to live together. You know, we talk about other nationalities so much. Why they living in that apartment, all them families? Why they in that one little car, all them people? And I one day, you know, I wish one day that we could just sit down and talk to them. Because I'm gonna tell you what, they ain't struggling financially. They okay. They always got babysitters. They always have people in their home that are watching out for their children. So while we over here talking about how uncomfortable it seems to us due to the westernized mindset that a lot of us have taken, the reality is that it's not comfortable to them. They're perfectly acceptable with keeping those cultural norms, and their cultural norms are tribal. They're together, right? And so I think that's important. And then, sis, you said something that I
Mm.
thought was good. You said a good slave suffers gracefully. We must change our paradigm and stop competing for acceptance. And I'll say that, and then I'll acknowledge your last comment where you said, I'll admit, I
Mhm.
don't want to tell people that I homeschool because of everything you said and how people look at homeschooling as less than. So let me tell you
Yeah.
something. It's only us. It's only us that look at it like that. When we look at the white community, now the white community, um, and there are phenomenal, you know, people who are homeschooling who are of every race, right? But
Mm.
in the white community, they have had the option to homeschool before. It was an option for them. For us, and we had one guest on our show that says, sis, it wasn't an option for us. No one ever said, hey, and by the way, you know, you can homeschool, right? And so in our community, there are still so many myths. What about the socialization? Do you have the education you can that you can teach them? How are you going to teach them? What about college? Can they go to college? So if I told you that homeschool students outscore public school students on most standardized tests, and that those are statistics out there for that, right? What I will say is make sure that you stay connected to us and get connected to your tribe because you shouldn't have to feel ashamed to teach your children. That's that mindset shift.
Yeah.
There's a system that has convinced us that we don't have what it takes
Yeah.
to teach the very children that we were able to birth and bring into this world. So you mean to tell me that a giraffe sends her baby to a gorilla to teach it how to be a
Come on.
giraffe?
Come on. It's not.
No,
It's not. That's not how. That's not how it was originally
that's just
designed. You know. But
not
that's
at all.
we were trained to think that everybody else knows better than us what to do with us, and that's totally not true. Sis says that superwoman complex puts too much pressure on us. That's what the isolation is about. You don't want to make a mistake and appear weak, so you stay hidden where you can remain perfect in others' eyes. We have to put ourselves on the front burner. Yes. Like that right there, that summed up the whole. If we would have started with that, we would already logged off by now. That just like summed it all up. Right there. That's it, having to appear so you can remain perfect in others' eyes because we are so afraid of what is associated with what we perceive as imperfection, you know, and whose standard of perfection is it that we're trying to reach? Surely not this failing public school system. Is that what got folks scared to homeschool? Because you worried about what the public schools is gonna think, and and we always have our disclaimer. We know a lot of really great, awesome, amazing educators in the public school system. So this is not at all a reflection on them who are doing what they can, but
That's
over
right.
the structure, the
That's right.
powers that be.
That's
That's
right.
who we talking about when we talking what we talk. Okay,
That's right.
not the individuals, but the systemic, framework. And our babies are failing.
That's
Our
right.
babies are failing in that system. So what is it that we are afraid that they're not going to get if they're not in there?
That's right. And then consider this, because I'm gonna throw it out there, right? The reality is we have a whole vaccination situation going on. Now, I don't. I put a post out there the other day. If you decide to vaccinate, that's great. If you decide not to, that's great. That is you. That is your decision. No one should. It's kind of like the whole issue with abortion. Some people are for it. Some people are against it. It's your body, right? What I will say is that what happens when them schools tell your baby that they can't come back because they don't got no vaccination? Then what you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that, and I'm not being like a conspiracy theorist. It's just a real thing. There are some
Mm-hmm.
jobs that have already kind of said, like, yeah, it's required for you to get vaccinated in order for you to work here. So what
Yep.
happens then? Right. And so when we look at that, that's where we really need a strong community. That's what we really need to be like, okay, y'all, where the jobs at? Uh, because if you don't work, if you trying to work here and you don't want to get a vaccination, you ain't gonna get no job. And so, although that is like a drop in the bucket in comparison to a lot of other things, we just have to remember that something that she said in here, that's what isolation is about. You don't want to make a mistake and appear weak, so you stay hidden. They
Yep.
have hid us for so long. I'm tired of hiding.
Yep.
I am tired of hiding because the reality is, it's so funny. I remember this mom, I was on a clubhouse chat with homeschool moms and they be going in. So if you on Clubhouse, just type in homeschool and it's gonna come up with a whole bunch of
Girl,
homeschool.
I
And
was
this
on
one,
Clubhouse for like 3 minutes, and I ain't been back on there since. I told you, look, this right here, this
look,
open homeschooling, this is the most social media I have done ever in my life. Okay, like so, this is really overstimulating for me sometimes. So I tried, but
it's a,
Clubhouse was.
hey,
I'm gonna try it
sometimes
again soon.
Clubhouse be popping, but something that was interesting was this mom said on Clubhouse, she was like, she was like, there are people who always talk to us homeschoolers about, well, they try to essentially they try to give homeschoolers trivia, to homeschool kids trivia. Well, who's the president of so and so? What is 2 times 2 plus 4? And so and so. And the one lady, her response was, I want you to ask some public school kids that. And she was like, I want you to ask them some of these same questions that you are addressing to our children. And she was like, because I've never heard anybody question a child who goes to public or private school about what they know, about how they learned it, about anything. And yet, it seems to be commonplace that when you have children who are homeschooled, people want to try to like essentially they're trying to make it seem like is your child learning enough? Is your child doing
Mhm.
this? Is your child doing that? And it's so interesting because in my mind, I'm like, first of all, it's none of your business. You can't ask me not a nan question about what my children are learning. Just know that I'm teaching them, right? My children are learning things over here that no child in public school may ever learn, but then they may. And it is your choice if you want to teach your child, but you shouldn't have to do it alone. And that is what the village is for. That is what leveraging our strengths and avoiding isolation is all about, right? It is, you shouldn't have to stay hidden, nor should you have to be ashamed when it comes to homeschool. You should be able to say, okay, I'm out here. This is what we're doing. And guess what? When you do it, you're going to have other homeschoolers. You're going to have other people say, oh man, I didn't even know you homeschool, sis. Like, we need to get together sometime. Or you'll have people in your corner who are saying, man, I really want to homeschool. Is it hard? And before you know it, you will have a platform or you will have an opportunity to speak to people about, hey, it's not hard at all. You just got to do this, this, this. You got to do this. I can help you out. Y'all want to meet up for a play date? You want to do this? You want to do that? That is how you start to leverage your strengths. But you have to first, you have to know that it is okay. And the decision that you made is the decision you made. No one can tell you that it's right or wrong. And especially piggybacking off of sis, especially when we're looking at some of the school systems around the country, specifically in urban and suburban environments. We already know what our children are and are not getting, right? We
Right.
already know that. And if we're
Right.
involved parents, or if you had a child in the public school system and you were involved, then you already know that you were upset at some capacity. Thanksgiving, they teaching lies. Columbus Day is still observed. We've got all of these things, and we know those are blatant lies. Those are not facts at
Mhm.
all.
Yep.
you know? And so you have an opportunity to teach your children. And if you can't do it, that is what the village is for. And that is why we have to leverage those strengths. That is why, and if you have to be that beacon of hope, it is hard sometimes to be an early adopter, to be a trailblazer. But I'll tell you what, sis, I know that there's a village on the East Coast. There's
Yeah.
definitely a village in the South. And we would love, we gonna connect because virtual now is everywhere. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So don't be isolated, and we don't want you to be. Like, from sister to sister, we do not want you to be isolated because it's hard out here,
It is.
but it doesn't have to be. Hmm.
Yep. 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 So, you know, like for Marcia and everyone else who has been, tuning in with us, thank you guys so much. Um, we're going to continue this conversation. Let me look at this schedule. What we got next week, girl? I think next week is navigating your lane and avoiding collisions. So, staying with that theme of unity. And so it's like, this one is about leveraging our strengths.
Yep.
How do we honor our differences and honor, where, there may be, some spaces that need to be filled in so that everything can, balance out. And then next week we'll look at, once we figured that space out, how do we maintain it? How do we maintain that? And avoid collisions. And a big part of that, I'm gonna give you a hint. It's got to do with checking your ego. And so yeah, so I mean, I'm looking forward to our continued conversation about this umoja, this unity. Um, if
That's
you are
right.
watching, or if you're catching it after, make sure you like and share. Someone that may find this information helpful, and that's whether they homeschooling or not. This is like a community building conversation that we all need to have. Period. So I hope that all eyes and ears have
That's
found
right.
themselves
That's right.
connecting with what we've shared and what we're exchanging with you in some way. So we can continue this
Right.
work forward for our babies.
That's right.
Well, it's breaking up a little bit, sis. I can't hear you. Are you on mute? Check your thing. Okay, try it again and see. Let me see. Can I hear you now?
That's right. That's right. And we
Okay, there we
thank
go.
you all so much for tuning in as always. We uh-oh. I don't think so. Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, it's like
Okay.
it's the
So,
about the
as
I can't hear.
always, thanks for tuning in. We dropped our information, our Gmail in the chat. Make sure that you connect with us on Facebook, connect with us on Instagram. We have Hope and Homeschooling on Instagram. Make sure that you connect with us on Facebook.
Hmm. Yep. If you guys can hear me, I think the internet connection is doing something kind of wonky. Um, but yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys next week. So we're gonna go ahead and sign off, and we'll catch you next week. Peace. Bye.